Welcome to season 3 of the Living and Learning podcast. We are so excited to hear more about how our mission statement is actually lived out across each of our programs. We're going to hear stories about excellent academics, living in community, and what it looks like to engage in the world with a biblical worldview. We are so excited to spend some time with you together. Hello, everybody, and welcome again to our Living and Learning podcast. We are so excited to be with you. We have lots of folks with us on the episode today, so I'm really excited to hear stories from each of these 3 ladies who have really unique experiences and, are going to tell us a little bit about, again, just another aspect of our mission statement as an organization. And in particular, today, we're going to hear about what it looks like for living and learning to actually practice living out in community. And so my name is Sara. I get to help kind of facilitate these conversations. And again, as we've mentioned, Living and Learning has programs internationally, but we also have a really special program domestically that is based in Baltimore, Maryland. And so that is what we're going to hear a little bit more about from each of these 3 ladies. So for each of you, I would love for you to tell us a little bit about who you are, how you got involved with Living and Learning, and a little bit about what you're doing now. So, Leslie, if we could start with you, that would be great.
Yes. Hello, everyone. I'm Leslie Whitfield. I serve as the internship coordinator and one of the field practicum instructors for Living and Learning East Coast. I've been with Living and Learning for a little over 3 years, actually, since the beginning of the Living and Learning East Coast program, or also Baltimore Urban Study Center, since we began in May of 2022. My background is in social work, so I do still work as a social worker in the hospital system, one of the local hospitals here in the DC area. I came to this really with just really a desire to walk alongside students as they are also just learning and kind of broadening their sites professionally, vocationally, and it's really been a great experience just to walk along students in this particular phase of or chapter of their lives. And I'm really excited to see Ellie and Lily again here today.
Awesome. Thanks, Leslie. We
Yeah.
have 2 alumni with us as well. So, Lily, if you want to introduce yourself too, that would be great.
Okay, hi guys. So I'm Lily Demore. I was at the Baltimore Urban Studies program for spring semester 2025. And then came back and graduated in May from Dordt University with a social work degree. And now I'm working on my graduate degree, my master's degree through Dordt online. So that's kind of where I'm at now.
That's awesome. That's amazing. Yeah. Thank you all so much. I am super excited to jump into your stories and kind of the particular spheres that you all were a part of during your time at the bus in the spring. Before we do that, we are going to take a quick break and then we will be right back with Ella, Lily, and Leslie.
Hi, this is Meg, a Living and Learning Director of Student Life, and I wanted to let you know that we are hiring resident coordinators for our semester and summer programs. If you're passionate about cultivating Christian community and feel called to disciple college students, this may be the perfect role for you. Our resident coordinators live on our campuses in Ecuador, Italy, England, and the US, and they run student life activities, help create a safe and living, inviting space for students, and support students during their semester or summers with us. If you're preparing to graduate in the spring and you're looking for a ministry role, or if you're ready for a change and are interested in life-giving work, visit landli.org/careers to learn more and apply today for an upcoming summer or semester program.
Leslie, I am super grateful just for your time being part of this episode. I know you are really involved with the Baltimore Urban Studies Center and that program, and specifically involved in internships. So, can you kind of give us a little bit of an idea of kind of the lens through which you perceive the importance of internships in the local community? And maybe can you even tell us a little bit about the local community there in Baltimore?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, as far as the lens feels very it's very relational, and really focused on, connection and relationships. Internships are, often, going to be times where you're either leaving, what you normally are doing, whether it's in school or a job, and really immersing yourself into an environment or an experience. And so we feel that it's really less about, kind of collecting hours, and really more about being shaped, very formational, whether it's, professionally, spiritually as well, of course, personally, by walking alongside people and organizations that are doing some incredible work. And so we really, are upfront with students when they come in, that living in community really is a huge part of the experience. That yes, you will get your internship, and you will see Baltimore and New York and in DC, but when you come, we're inviting you to really enter into and live in and participate in community. And so a lot of the time, a lot of the ways we do that are through in our orientation. So when students first come into Baltimore, kind of introducing them to that idea, and then going around to some of our different partner sites. And then throughout the course of the semester, we're meeting weekly, both in chapel, as well as in our weekly internship seminars, where we have the opportunity just to, among each other, kind of bring experiences, things that they're learning. So a lot of the learning that's taking place is taking place in the context of their internship, but also from one another, from the things that they're sharing and experiencing alongside of and with one another. And we really could not do it without our amazing partners. Places like, the Helping Up mission, the Salam Center, which I know Ella and Lily had the opportunity to work in during their cohort year or semester. um, the students just have amazing experiences. Baltimore is a very, I would say, kind of tight knit community across different sectors. Just a lot of cross, collaborations, cross cultural involvement and engagement, that they are able to participate in and really witness as learners. And I'm always really excited for the various stories that they come away from their internship experiences having, about their internship experience, but about the city as a whole, and those relationships that they've been able to form from with their site supervisors at their internships, from the organizations, and just and all the other places that they have the opportunity to interact with community, whether it's a local church, or a place where they volunteered, or gone to the gym, places that people that
Mm.
they've met as they're, just living everyday life here in Baltimore. So it's been a really exciting thing to witness, as well as participate in, as I'm walking alongside of this experience with students.
Yeah, yeah, that's amazing. And I know you're already kind of alluding to this, but the importance of that lens and that framework of, students are gonna we're gonna collaborate and we're gonna partner with
Mhm,
the organizations and the people and the communities that are already here.
mhm,
And this is not just about a student maybe like meeting a requirement or gaining something for themselves, although it is obviously
mhm,
we want students to feel like they're walking away with something that can set them up for success in the future. But
mhm,
yeah, can you tell me a little bit about, and even maybe Ella and Lily, if you have some context of this too, but yeah, what is that process kind of like to help students understand that, hey, the purpose of this is actually not just for you to meet a requirement. It's actually to engage really meaningfully and like meet very specific needs of the community because we know them and because
mhm,
we're doing life alongside them. We're not just coming in and out. We actually, we live here, we
mhm,
engage with these people every day. What is that kind of like to have those conversations with students and maybe even help them like reframe how they understand stepping into community in that way?
yeah. Yeah, well, our aim is to be very, like I think I mentioned before, just to be very intentional from the very beginning, just to that students understand that, that that this is a learning experience and an intern, that you will have internships and you will come and get to experience all these cool things. But really it's about a posture,
Mhm.
and a posture of learning, and a posture of hopefully understanding what is happening around them in the city, in the various cities that we have the opportunity to take students to, in addition to Baltimore, of course. And so before internships even begin, before they step foot into their internship during orientation, we are talking a lot about, the importance of cultural humility and Baltimore's history, and what it means to enter a community, even a community that may look similar to the one that that you come from, and certainly when it looks different than the community that you yourself come from, but really approaching it and beginning to, maybe trying to understand it, but approaching it from a posture of listening and of learning. Of course, we kind of reiterate that, that you're, for students, you are a learner. We don't want you to feel pressured to feel like you have to come in to this space, even though it is for many, in many cases, a place of work. You don't have to necessarily feel like you have to come in and do anything, or lead. Of course, a lot of our partners are very eager to hear from students, and to kind of gather their, what their ideas are, if they have ideas about how to do certain things. But we really emphasize that that should be an invitation that they wait for, and or that they, look to get from the organization itself, versus coming in with a posture of, I'm going to come in and do all these things, do all these tasks. But to from the start, to really approach it from a position of, hey, I'm here to learn, and I want to learn about what the work that you're doing, and your community, and the people, the very real people who are here.
Yeah, yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, I think that is so unique, and I think that is a consistency across our different programs with living and learning is, you know, we want to be engaged community members. And so we do that by learning from the community first. If I've never been to Baltimore, I have no idea what it's like to be part of that community. And so, I trust the education I've received from my institution, but there is so much more to enhance that and to actually apply what I've learned. And sometimes that starts by sitting first instead of by doing first. And
Mhm.
so I think that's really beautiful that that intention from you all as team members on the East Coast is actually lived out and experienced by students. I think that is, I mean, that's very important and that's very, very powerful.
Yeah.
Um so even, as Leslie, for you, as you've seen students now, since the birth of the East Coast program, as you've seen students come in and engage with communities, and as you've seen the communities in Baltimore and the various cities that, you all get to be part of there, um, what are some of the like growth opportunities that you've observed, maybe even both from students and from partners that we work with as well? How have you seen those communities experience growth since
Mhm.
your time at the bus?
Yeah, I know this it's interesting because, yeah, like from in different ways. I think, yeah, certainly from, as a program, and then also, like you said, the partners, and and students. I think there's a lot of, yeah, I spoke to just, the importance of positioning or posturing ourselves as learners, because there's certainly been a great deal of learning that, that we've done as a team and as a program, just learning about just the the city of Baltimore, the genuine and beautiful work that goes on every day around, and how those organizations really tackle some of the needs of the community, the challenges that they're facing. And so I think being able to introduce um, students, or invite students into, a process of learning that we're all doing amongst one another, in community, has just been a really, um, yeah, it's been a wonderful process, and definitely has had a lot of definitely has had a lot of some bumps that we've had to learn from, but I think that the growth has been very exciting. I think one thing that I would say, as far as like what I've observed with students, that is always just a blessing to see, is just how they show up for themselves and for one another, and the community that takes place, even throughout, challenges and, the lessons that they're learning in community, at their internship. It's just, I see like the students that come into the program leave very, very differently and profoundly changed. I also have a little bit of a different kind of window into their learning process, because I'm also, have the chance to read, so like some of the reflections that we'll
Yeah.
invite them to do on a week to week basis, an internship seminar. And so it's really, as they're kind of making those connections between what they're learning in what they've learned in class, sometimes in the classes that they're taking concurrently with their internship, and also classes that they've had at their home universities, just kind of seeing those light bulbs, or those full circle moments, how this is something that they've read about, or maybe a population that they've always wanted to work with, or that they've learned about, but being able to have real encounters and real experiences with various individuals and organizations and issues that are being tackled. I think that has been a very that's always been really rewarding, and just also knowing just the importance of those light bulb moments as you're in
Yeah.
this learning environment. And I think and also in general, just seeing how students really embrace the city, and how they build relationships within their respective internship sites, among and just really kind of begin to put, I guess, flesh on
Mm,
relationships of various types. It's something that I know that they leave with, and sometimes even continue after the internship has ended. I think that has been, again, very, very, very rewarding to see that, okay, that they came, they showed up, that they were present, that they learned from this experience, and are leaving with more than just, okay, I have an X number of hours in this
yeah.
internship, but a real relationship, a real, an experience that was built on, yeah, real, or that where I was able to come away with a real relationship, with an experience that goes deeper than just an internship um,
Yeah.
experience. And so I think just seeing how they kind of move from student learner to a neighbor themselves, in those various aspects, has been
Mm,
really, really exciting to see. And in different ways, we kind of have this thing, or like, among our team, we've talked about just how, from one semester to the next, from the time that we first started, seeing how different cohorts, there's usually at least one student in each cohort in some way or another who has kind of had it, or created a link to Baltimore, whether they've either come back to Baltimore, or are working kind of in similar areas that they had their internship in. And so kind of seeing how those things kind of spread and grow from their experience here has been really exciting as well.
hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I think something that you said that I think is really powerful is sort of this idea of what it looks like to be a neighbor.
Hmm.
And I think that is um I mean, as people of faith and as believers, that is, we know that that's important. That's actually a command is to love our neighbor. Um and so you even said putting flesh to that. Like what does it actually mean to love my neighbor? And I have to know my neighbor in order to do that. And um I can't just wave at them from my door when I see them walk out of the house. Like um that's easy and that's comfortable, but that is not the way that we are invited to live. And so I think that um even using that language of students learning what it looks like to be a neighbor, I think is it's not just important again for like learning outcomes, but is, as people of Jesus, that's how we hope to live. And so yeah, thanks for putting some words to that. I think that was really powerful, to even hear you use that language. So
Mhm.
yeah, I'm excited to continue to hear. We're going to shift gears a little bit, and we're going to hear a little bit from Ella and Lily about their experiences as students and seeing that lived out in their student experience. So sit tight. We're going to take one more break, and then we will get to hear a little bit more from Lily.
Want to be the first to know when we're waiving application fees for our study abroad programs? Hear exciting updates about new opportunities? And always know when our team will be visiting your campus? Subscribe to our newsletter. It's a quick, short email once a month that keeps you in the loop with living and learning. Subscribe today using the link in the episode show notes or on our website.
Okay, yeah, I'm excited to continue hearing stories from the student perspective, how not just working in Baltimore, but living in Baltimore, how that kind of impacted your understanding of community development, of even this idea that Leslie mentioned of like being a neighbor. Like, what was that like for you both as you were living and working in Baltimore?
Yeah, I feel like for me, I'm from a small town in Minnesota and then came to school in a small town in Iowa. So like going to Baltimore, I was like, how does like community look in like a bigger like city? Because I've never been used to that. And so going there and kind of feeling the same in a lot of aspects, feeling the same way as I felt in small town like Iowa or Minnesota was such a cool thing to be like, wow, like these people are like they have so many different like needs and occupations and they're just so diverse but they're still so connected. It was really cool to see, like even in our internships or just going to church or the gym or different things like that. It just felt like everyone was like wanting you to like be a part of their community, like even if you're not from there, like they're like one excited for you to learn or excited for you to hear about their experiences, or just yeah, like people talking to people on like public transportation, like all those things. I was like, this just feels like me and Ella were talking about, like they call it small to more, like small town Baltimore, like
Oh,
just like that vibe of just like,
I love that.
so we just like hearing that of just being like it feels like so like at home, even though it's like way bigger than what I've ever lived in. So that was something that was like for me like the most impactful of like, oh, like community development can look like this in small towns, what I'm used to, but also like in like a big city. So that was just really cool to kind of see that aspect of that. So
That's awesome. And I think it's so helpful to hear you share that context, because I think I don't know, I think it could be easy for students to have this perception of what living in a big city means, and maybe it's intimidating, maybe people are rude, maybe people live at a faster pace of life, like maybe students have this idea of what it would look like to live in a big city, and every big city is different from the next one. And so I think it's really beautiful to hear you both talk about what it felt like to live in that city. And Smaltimore, I love that. Like that that is such a like, I feel like that just paints a really specific picture of what it looks like to be part of that community. And we have a lot of students who come from smaller towns that choose to engage in this opportunity in the East Coast. And so yeah, I think you both shared some really like real experiences, which is awesome. And you both have kind of alluded to this a little bit, but yeah, what did that look like for you to actually engage in real relationships during your semester? Like, you had lots of different pockets of community that you were involved in, um both like at in your academics, at your internships, things like that. But then it sounds like you both chose to get involved in some additional pockets of community as well, whether that was with church or the gym or things like that. So, yeah, how did choosing to get invested in relationships impact the experience that you ended up having during your semester?
I feel like it just like helped us to engage better. Like the more that we're engaging with like community or going to the gym or doing those things, like taking that first step is scary to be like, oh, we're gonna venture off and find
Mm,
somewhere to find a church to go to, find a gym to go to. But like once we started doing those things, we felt even more like connected to the community. Like Ella said, like we'd see the same people on the bus or we'd different things like that, like just start to get an idea of also like how our neighbors maybe were living or like, oh, what is it like to take transportation and go here? What is it like? Different things like that just made you feel like that much more connected to the community. Um, and so I just feel like it's intimidating at first, but like once you take that step, you're like, oh, we can do this. Like, I don't know, it just kind of made you feel more engaged and ready to learn more, I guess.
mm. Yeah, that's really good. I think that's actually really important to pay attention to that of um because you know those communities better, you become more passionate about them because naturally you're building empathy, you're building compassion, um you're building connection with them. And so of course it would make you a more passionate person because you're identifying real areas of involvement instead of just assuming what this person might need or what this person might want, um and operating in that way. And we know that oftentimes hurts instead of helps. So yeah, I think that's really important to pay attention to. um the last kind of thing that I want to touch on, how did engaging in community during your semester impact how you returned back home, like to these contexts that you both came from? How did you, yeah, kind of perceive community differently because of the experience you had during your semester?
Yeah, I feel like for me, one thing that I was really intimidated with, so I was working at Helping Up Mission, which is a nonprofit Christian organization, a recovery center. And so I was working at the Women's Center. And I just felt like I was like so like didn't know any of the experiences they had been through. Like so many of them like they had
Mm,
have substance use issues or poverty, different things with like just a lot of like things that I had no idea anything about. And so it's so intimidating to go in and be like, are they gonna look at me like, oh, who's this girl trying to help me or like engage with me? But like none of them were ever like that. Like they were all so grateful that I was there and like wanting to engage with
mm,
them. And so, like, just going into the field of social work in general, like, there's always going to be populations where we feel like we don't relate to them at all. And we
mm,
feel like almost like inferior, like trying to help them when you're like, okay, you really don't know what it's like. But that does not mean that you can't help them. And that doesn't mean you can't have a passion for working with them and helping them to find the resources that they need. And I just feel like I learned that a lot at Baltimore and at helping at Mission. Just like learning that it's okay if I don't feel like I relate to them, and they're not going to be like, oh, you don't relate, so you can't
mm,
help me. Like they're grateful for the relationships and for just the heart to help. And so that's just kind of the main thing that I learned, like going into the social work profession, of just
mm,
having more confidence in that area and letting your passion kind of shine through more than like your experience, I guess, in specific areas. So
mm. That is so special. And I think that's, Leslie, you alluded to this too, but if students are coming in with this pressure or expectation to provide some type of service or provide a solution, or whatever the case is, then there isn't room for that. Like there isn't room to not take yourself too seriously. And ultimately that authenticity is what, that's the catalyst for relationship. And so I think that's really, yeah, that's really beautiful that that was part of y'all's experience. And I'm super super grateful for each of you for sharing a little bit about what it looks like for you all to live in community, both from the perspective, Leslie, that you're coming from of, you've been part of building this ship and you live in that community all the time, and you're engaging you're engaging and you're also learning, and you get to see the waves of students come in, students who came in for a time but were really deeply impacted by it and are now changing the way that you engage with communities that you're involved with. So thank you all so much for your time, for sharing stories, for teaching us a little bit about what it looks like to live in community and to be a neighbor. This was really impactful for me, so thank you all so much. I had a blast with you all.
Mary.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yes, absolutely. See you all next time.
We'll see you.
Bye-bye. Thank you for spending some time with us on this week's episode of the Living and Learning podcast. If you want to learn more about us, you can follow us on Instagram or find our website in the show notes of this episode. We cannot wait to get to know you more throughout this process.